Stairway to Heaven is an epic song in every sense of the word. There have been few songs in modern history that have captured and changed the world quite like Stairway. For many, it's the signature song of Led Zeppelin's career. For some, it's the signature song of rock as a genre. And while it can be overplayed sometimes, if you sit down and listen, really listen to Stairway, it can be a transcendental experience. It can transport you somewhere else entirely, make you feel like you're part of a different time, part of a different world. It can make you feel like you're part of a story. And the way that Led Zeppelin are able to do this is by tapping into one of the greatest narrative structures in human history. Let's take a closer look. From its earliest conception, Stairway was always meant to be an epic. The band were looking for a long piece that could be the centerpiece of their live shows. At one point, Jimmy Page even thought the song could run as long as 15 minutes, and some live versions do reach that mark. But of course, it's not just length that makes a song epic. Stairway works so well and conjures such powerful emotions because of its structure. Zeppelin's long songs up until this point followed more of a loose structure with open jam sections in the middle. Stairway to Heaven, on the other hand, is more rigid, more driven. In fact, Stairway's structure seems like it's pulled less from music and more from the world of storytelling. And that's because both musically and lyrically, Stairway follows one of the most ubiquitous stories in human history, the hero's journey. Described by Joseph Campbell and elaborated on by Christopher Vogler, the hero's journey is a story cycle that has permeated stories for as long as humans have told them. And chances are you've seen it before. Everything from Star Wars and Lord of the Rings to Homer's Odyssey can be read as the hero's journey. Now, there are many interpretations of this journey, but Campbell described its most basic pattern in The Hero with 1,000 Faces. He wrote, "A hero ventures forth from the world of common day into a region of supernatural wonder. Fabulous forces are there encountered and a decisive victory is won. The hero comes back from this mysterious adventure with the power to bestow boons on his fellow man." Now, Stairway to Heaven doesn't tell the story overtly in its lyrics. Instead, the music and lyrics work together to form a piece that conjures the feelings of the hero's journey. The song opens with a minimal passage that draws on musics from hundreds of years ago. With a line of bass recorders and sharp guitar, Zeppelin immediately conjure images of a pastoral England. Many of the epics that have permeated modern society come from this setting, the Knights at the Round Table and ancient fairy stories later transposed into the genre of high fantasy. Musically, Stairway even pulls a phrase from another historical era. The opening melody sounds similar to a Renaissance piece by Italian composer Giovanni Battista Granata. To further transport you, the song is shifting between two modes, A Aeolian and A Dorian. The Aeolian mode is the same as a natural minor key, but the shift to Dorian creates some tension in the music and piques your interest. This Dorian mode has been used in some notable folk songs, including Scarborough Fair, another song that conjures images of medieval England.
Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
With these Renaissance and medieval musics in mind, Robert Plant opens our lyrics and starts our hero's journey.
All it glitters is gold, and she's buying.
Most of the lyrics to Stairway came to Robert Plant in one manic session, and even he has admitted there are countless ways you can interpret them. But it's easy to read the hero's journey into the first few lines. We're introduced to our main character, a lady, and we're introduced to her ordinary world. But Robert Plant doesn't do this with concrete ideas or a clear narration. Instead, he's more abstract. This abstraction adds to the fantasy elements behind Stairway. Plant sings in cryptic phrases that imply a great depth below.
There's a songbird who sings, sometimes all of our thoughts.
It makes you feel like you're part of a prophecy, part of a myth, part of something bigger growing beneath the surface. Prophecy is, of course, a staple in the hero's journey, particularly in older versions of it. 2 minutes into the song, Stairway's momentum picks up. Jimmy Page switches from finger-picked guitar to strummed chords. This wider arrangement creates a swell in the song, and we reach the call to adventure. The call to adventure is the true start of the hero's journey, the move from the ordinary into the extraordinary. Lyrically, Plant sings of this section when he looks to the west. His spirit is crying for leaving.
To the west, and my spirit is crying.
It's a literal call to adventure, a call to leave the familiar behind and head out on the road. This call is usually refused at first, but then the hero succumbs, heading out onto the road towards adventure. In Stairway, we get that 4 minutes into the song. Our hero crosses the threshold. This is the introduction of the drums, a subtle but firm hand by John Bonham that kicks the journey forward. In Vogler's hero's journey, this part is characterized by tests, allies, and enemies. And it's easy to spot these figures in Plant's lyrics. The May Queen, the Piper calling.
The piper's calling you to join.
We don't know exactly who these figures are, but they seem to be challenging us or urging us ahead on our journey. Vogler follows this section with what he calls the approach to the innermost cave. At this section, the hero prepares himself for his climax, prepares for the battle to come or the maze he must navigate. The hero must be ready to face his destiny. Led Zeppelin represent this phase with a drastic musical shift. This new section leads us to the climax of the song, and the climax of the story, the Ordeal. The Ordeal is a life or death struggle for the hero, often one on which the fate of the entire world hangs. True to their own style, Zeppelin represent this section with Jimmy Page tearing out one of the greatest guitar solos ever recorded. Page plays like a man possessed. He had the structure of the piece written down, but he improvised the solo itself. He recorded 3 takes of that solo, each one different than the other, but the final cut seemed perfect. It was the musical climax the song needed, and it pushed perfectly into the lyrical climax. These lyrics show our protagonist, Our Lady, becoming a hero, appearing in shining white light. And this is where our hero reaches the reward. In this case, our reward comes as a kind of enlightenment. Plant lays down an anthemic verse. The tune will come to you at last, when all are one, and one is all. It's the revelation of the power that music has, of the way you can change your life, change the world with a song. But the hero's journey doesn't end here, and neither does Stairway. There's one last chapter, the return home. Having gone through a journey, the hero returns home, changed for the better with the knowledge and experience of their quest. It's short in Stairway, but this moment is clearly present. The song ends on a slower, quieter note. We come back to where we began, buying a stairway to heaven. There's a good reason that Stairway to Heaven has the legacy it does. Lyrically and musically, it's Led Zeppelin at the height of their powers. But it's more than that. It's universal. It's using one of the greatest stories ever told to create one of the greatest songs ever sung. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. This is a project that I've been sitting on for a while, so I'm so excited to launch it. As you may have noticed, it's the first in a trilogy of videos I've done on some of Zeppelin's most epic songs. If you want to watch the other 2 parts, you can do it right now on Nebula. What is Nebula? It's a new streaming service created by and for creators. There's a lot I like about YouTube, but their policies have made it incredibly difficult to run my channel. Just so you get an idea, I needed to edit and re-upload this video 4 different times because it kept getting auto-flagged for copyright and blocked worldwide, even though I'm well within the laws of fair use. More than that, YouTube's algorithm encourages people to stay in their lane. When you get weird and experimental, you'll often get lost and buried. That's why I'm really excited to be a part of Nebula. I'm hoping it can provide an option for creators like myself to experiment. My series on Zeppelin's epics is one of the flagship originals, but there's plenty more to come from some of the biggest names on YouTube and some of my personal favorite channels. People like Kurzgesagt, CGP Grey, and Wendover Productions are all part of Nebula, and many of them have originals on the horizon. Also, all of my content on Nebula will always be ad-free. That means no sponsor reads from me and no pre-roll ads ever. If you go right now, my entire back catalog is already on there, and I have some plans to remaster some of my older videos for Nebula. The service is only $5 and all of that money goes towards covering overheads, paying creators, and funding new original content. If you go to watchnebula.com/polyphonic, you can check it out now and try out a 7-day free trial. When you're there, you can see what I have to say about Kashmir and Achilles' Last Stand. I'm really proud of these videos and I'm really excited at the potential that Nebula has, so please head on over and show some support. And again, thank you so much for watching.